Can you see my desktop now? Hello, can you see my desktop
Yes, sir.
now? Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay, so I'll be covering, like the options after your engineering, like what all things you can do. Then I'll talk a bit on higher studies. Then I'll talk on career in academic and research. Then mainly I'll talk on type of industries. Then product development flow, because this is very important for you to know really, which type of industry you can work with. Then I'll talk on type of jobs actually, and the profile of each jobs actually. That is also important for you to aware really, when you're trying for job or during your campus interviews, etc. Then I'll talk on the expectations from industry, then the skill sets required for different roles actually, and I'll talk on the major components and tools used in industry, because that's also very much required for you, in your projects, and also whenever you're doing any course, you should know actually the tools used by industry, so that you can do the training on that actually, and that will increase the value of your resume. Okay. Then I'll talk on the specialized courses, online learning, and so on. Then maybe if time is there, then I'll talk on the organization structure actually, and the type of profiles in industry. Okay. So to start with so first and foremost thing is that anything what do you want to do in your future, you need to really plan it actually. That's very important actually. So ideally you should plan when you're in third year, or at least in final year beginning actually. You need to know really what you want to do. So okay, so the planning is mainly based on your interest and passion, because that's very important. Okay, if you're interested in certain things, okay, naturally you'll perform well there. Okay. And another thing you need to consider is again your skills and expertise. That's very important. For example, if somebody want to go in a software domain, and if he's not interested in coding, you can't go there really, right? Because you need to survey there actually, so that won't be possible. So in later slides, I will show the skills required for each and every profile actually. So it's very important that it will be very useful for you then to plan accordingly. Okay. Then you need to consider other aspects also, like the availability of jobs. That's very important. So suppose if you select some field which has very less opportunity, then it will be a problem for you. Okay. To find the suitable job. And the other thing is that you need to consider the long term career growth. Never look for a short term benefit. So many time what I've seen is that like as students, what they think is that, okay, I need to get in big company first, and they don't bother much on the type of work you'll be doing actually. You should not do that actually. What you need to really do is that even if it is a small company, try to get some good core work actually. For example, if you want to go in R&D, that's very important actually. Okay. And now I'll talk on the options actually. Okay. So after your engineering, you have a different options, so you can go for higher studies. I'll talk on that later. Then you can go for for job. So that can be in industry, or it can be in academics or in research field. Okay. And the last option is like entrepreneurship. You can start your own something actually. Again, I mean, based on your interest and other things. Okay. So higher studies, you have two options. So in my slide, I'll focus on ME, Tech, etc. Okay. So you have two options. So one is you can go for MBA. I will tell you where MBA is useful actually. Okay. And if you are interested in technical field, you can go for ME, Tech, and further interested in research and all, you can go for PhD, and then even postdoctoral research. Okay. So that's research. After your doctorate, etc. Okay. In higher studies, you have a different type of courses in India, starting from normal ME, Tech, and then you have a research master's degree like MS or MSc Engineering, or MTech by research, etc. I mean, for example, NIT Surat is also offering course called MTech by research actually. So it's a mainly a research master's degree. Okay. So yeah, to get into MTech or MS or whatever, you need to have a good score in GATE actually. That's mandatory. Again, there are a lot of specialization here, like SA, VLSI, embedded systems, signal processing, or communications, etc. Okay, so you have to select your specialization again based on your career planning. Yeah? Because MTech is an added qualification for you, because whenever you are trying in R&D, having MTech is always highly beneficial. Okay, because most of the company will prefer that actually, and you will get a very high salary. So for example, a student with a BE, and when whatever salary he get by end of say like 2 years, the MTech student will get more than that actually, like that, because they will be joining in different level in any organization. So doing MTech is very beneficial. So but you select the specialization based on your interest and your career planning and goal. Okay. For example, if somebody want to go in IC design, it's better you do in VLS actually, not doing in embedded system like that actually. Okay. So then you have some specialized branches like biomedical or automotive electronics, etc. So that's typically catering to those type of industries where they'll be teaching most subjects related to that actually. Okay. So again, you can choose based on your interest. Okay, higher studies in abroad, you have options. You can go, to America or in Europe or Asia Pacific. Again, you need to have here, good scores in GRE, for example, to go to US and all. Then you need to have a good scores in TOEFL or IELTS, etc. to other countries. But at the same time, these universities in abroad, they typically they consider your projects and also the paper published actually, because that's very important. If you want to go for abroad, you need to have good projects, good papers published actually in journals, because the administration will be based on that, and that's also very important for you to get the scholarship. Because doing a master's degree in abroad without a scholarship is very expensive. It can go up to 50 lakhs, say 30 to 50 lakhs for 2-year course. So you need to consider that aspect also when you are going for masters in abroad. Okay. So these are some of the websites. There you will get a lot of information on the courses and the admission procedures, and information on scholarships and visa and so on actually. They're like a study portals or find masters. These are very good sites. Okay. Then after, yeah. So now say like after your engineering, if you want to enter in academics, say for example in an engineering college, then you need to do ME or MTech, because that's a minimum requirement to get in an engineering college as assistant professor. Okay. Or if somebody is interested in research, they can join as a research associate or fellow in various universities or colleges or labs. You can see the advertisement, and then by doing that, again, you can do masters, and like you can even go for PhD and so on actually. Okay. So now I will talk on the type of industries. Okay, so this is also very important for you to understand actually, because which type of industry you are looking, and what are the major type of work they are doing and the activities involved. Okay, because you need to know that actually, because that's important for for your long term career growth. Okay, so IT service company, as all you all know that actually. So its examples are like Wipro, TCS, or HCL. Okay, what they do is that they do the projects for different customers actually. Okay, they don't develop any product themselves, so they do part of the work actually based on customer need. And for your information, all of the major IT companies are also working on embedded systems, VLSI or signal processing. Yeah? So once you get job in one of these companies, you will be working on
Hello, hello.
हेलो 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 स्क्रीन ऑफ गई है हेलो हेलो
वो हम तना लगाड़े आपको बेटा
hello. Yeah, sorry, some network issue were there. Okay. Can you see my desktop now? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay, so uh, Okay, so you have a different type of industries. Okay, so IT service company, they do the work for different customers. So they have again core activity like in embedded systems and signal processing and so on. Okay, so whenever they hire any student, what they do is that initially will have a training. Okay, once your training is completed, they will again look back to your resume actually, and they will screen your resume based on your skill set, and then they will conduct interview, and then they will put you in the project actually. Okay, so suppose if somebody want to work in core field, you should really know what all skills you need really to get into those projects or the divisions in IT companies. Okay, so I'll talk on that actually. So that's also one of the main objective of this lecture. Okay, to make you really aware, to get you in the good project in core electronics field. Okay, and then second type of industry is called product companies. Okay, so what they typically do is that they develop the complete product actually. So the examples can be maybe you turn Honeywell or even Tata Motors. Okay, so they make the complete product, for example a car. Okay, so they start from the requirement to the design, then to manufacture, then sales and service, everything they do end to end actually. So it's always good to work in a product company, so that will help you really to get the complete experience in different aspects actually in your career. So that will really be beneficial for your long term career growth. Okay, so I will talk on the positions and other things later. Okay, so then you have a companies like called electronics manufacturing type of industry. So the examples are Jabel. So what they typically do is that they will manufacture the part of the product or sometimes the complete product. Any product company mostly what they do is that these PCBs won't be assembled themselves. They will outsource to Jabel or Flextronics etc. They will assemble it and they will test it. Okay, and sometimes they will even do the manufacturing of the some systems or sometimes design etc. for some customers actually. So this is also good company. There are different type of roles there. I will talk on that actually. Then you have a semiconductor companies like Texas Instruments, Analog Devices, Silix, etc. So they are into IC design and development. Okay, so if people who are interested in VLSI can work in such companies. Then any product what you manufacture, and if you want to sell it in anywhere in the world, you need to get some regulatory certifications. Probably you might have noticed in your mobile phone or mobile phone chargers or laptop chargers, CEUL marking etc, right? So so this is also a domain where like a lot of companies are in India, because India a lot of making in India initiative is there, due to which a lot of manufacturing happens here. So lot of certification also happens here. So like there are a lot of job opportunities in that field also, and there's companies like ULTV etc in different parts of India. Then at the end, you have a government organization like ISRO, DRDO, CDAC etc. So they do a lot of research work, sometimes product development and satellite and so on actually. Okay, so typically getting into government companies, nowadays they see gate score also, so it's important also to have a good gate score. Okay, now I will talk on product development flow. The product development flow is like wheel actually. This is a complete activity where it's a circle actually. Like it will never really stop it actually. When you say for example, when you launch a product, and then you have to monitor the performance throughout the life cycle of the product. Sometimes what happens, you might have heard like a lot of product recall happens in automotive industries, like, right? So the some the reason for is that sometimes some of the defects which can cause safety issues, or so that will have a big impact on warranty cost and so on actually. So this is a complete circle. Like you keep on what you do is that you design something. Okay, you manufacture it, you sell it, and you keep on monitoring the performance. Okay, how it is, and then you will do improvement actually in your product actually to reduce the defect. Then you do value engineering to reduce the cost of your product. And then what happens, like you launch a product now, maybe after a year, your competitors or so other companies may come with a new features, okay, a new technology. So what you need to do again do is that you need to do feature enhancement. You have to adapt to new technologies actually. So it's a complete activity actually. I mean a complete continuous activity. Okay, hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure, sure. Okay, okay. 1 minute, sorry. Okay, yeah. Any product development will start with product initiation. Okay, so you will do a product development due to multiple reasons. Okay, so one is that you want to launch a new product altogether. Okay, when you want to launch a new product, you need to do a market study. Actually, you need to understand the requirement, from the customer. So you do a market research analysis. Okay, so this will be done by the sales and marketing engineers. Typically, they will discuss with the customers, and they will do a lot of market study, and then competitor study, etc. They will do, and then you will get real idea, like, okay, these are the expectation from customers, but the expectations could be from the feature, so from the the cost of ownership and the cost of the product, and so on actually. Okay, once that is there, you'll have to define the concept. Actually, you'll have to see how the product has to be developed actually, like at a very high level you have to define actually, like, these are the features, and the architecture will be like this and so on. Okay, so for example, you take the example, consider, car navigation. Okay, so some of the things would be like, the monitor size, and some of them would be the type of interface, the touchpad interface, and some of them would be like, the what all additional features, like, whether you need to able to sync up with Google Maps and so on, actually. Okay, then once that is there, like, you need to, at a high level, you have to also decide the architecture actually, because that's very important at this stage, because this is from where you will get to know the cost of the product actually. You need to know the actual manufacturing or the component cost of any product actually. That's very important actually, because based on that only you can sell your product actually. Okay, so once that is done, you have very high level requirement. Okay, so then this can also have come up from your field. For example, your system has a lot of issues, so then you need to redesign actually. Okay, or it can be to add in new features. Okay, so once this is done, then you will actually start with the architecture, design specification and the system design. Here you will define the architecture. Okay, and then you will split actually the modules. Okay, you will define what are the processors I to use, and which type of display, which type of interface, and so on actually, which software tool I will use, and all you will start do. Okay, and once that is done, you will move to product development actually. So here the activity will be really detailed out actually. So some team will be working on component selection, circuit design, simulation. Then other team will work on the software development, etc. Okay, so once all these things is done, is that software team, what they do is that typically they will work on the evaluation board, and they will develop the code, and also they will see the performance there. Okay, then once then for electronics, it's like, you have to design the circuit, and then you need to get the PCB done, and after assembling the components, you have to start the testing. Okay, once that is done, software will also will be downloaded there, and you will check the performance. Okay, so once that is done, then you will actually go for the final testing. In final testing, you will do the detailed testing from all the aspects. You will check also whether this product can be manufactured, and so on actually, like, manufactured means, like, for example, the location of the connectors and other things, you will look from manufacturability. Then you will also do the complete testing, and the most important thing here is the regulatory testing. Any product you want to sell, I mean, you need to get qualified actually, like, means to certain country regulations. So you need to do safety testing, then you need to do the electromagnetic compatibility test. And why it is important is that your equipment should not cause any emissions. Okay, and that should not impact other equipments, neighboring equipments. Same way, other equipments should not cause any problem to your equipment. Okay, and for example, any equipments which is attached to your power supplies directly to your home. For example, you have a TV. Okay, so that's connected to your home power supply. So two things should be checked there actually. One is that the TV, when TV is operating, that should not add any inject any noise to your power supply to your home. That is one thing. And other thing is that if power supply is noisy, that should not impact the TV performance, and also the TV reliability. Okay, that's a important aspect. And another thing is that the safety testing and environmental testing is also important here. Safety testing, why it is important is that you assume in the TV, if some short circuit happen, there should not be any fire, or TV should not burst actually. So for that, they will do a lot of testing actually to find out. What they do is that they will do a lot of short circuit testing and all. So ideally, what should happen is that your fuse should immediately blow actually. Fuse means there are two type of fuse. One is your normal electric fuse actually. So there what will happen is that if the short circuit happen, the current will be more, so the fuse will blow. And the other is a thermal fuse actually. Sometimes what happens, if current won't be really that much for the fuse to blow, so that if temperature is more, then also the fuse should blow actually, I mean fuse should open actually. So those type of things will be done there actually in the regulatory test. Okay. So once that is done, you will launch the product. Again, launching the product depending on different strategies. So sometime what happens, the company may make only if manufacture say like a few samples of the product, and then they will launch it actually. But then they will monitor the performance. Okay, and if the performance is satisfactory, say then 3 months or 6 months, they will do the mass production and launch the product actually. Okay. So once the product is launched, you will continuously monitor the feedback, because it's very important for any company, to know the market feedback, because that will affect the company's reputation. And if there are more failures, it will affect the you know cost of your repair and so on actually, which company has to bear. And also sometime it will cause a lot of legal issues actually, because so if it is a safety issue, like in automotive, like airbag is not deploying and so on, this will be a major impact actually. So they have to recall and all actually. So this is how the product is developed actually. So if you're working in a product company, you will get the exposure, because you'll be working with marketing team, you will really know how the requirements are coming, why it is required, then so you will know the how, what are the manufacturing requirements and so on. Then you will able to work on different phases actually. In IT company, the problem is that you will work in part of the development actually. So that's the biggest disadvantage there. Okay. So this is a bit more in detail. Like in product development flow, it will start from concept, then you do analysis, because you need to really analyze also whether it is possible to implement. Possible to implement means you have to consider multiple things there. Can I implement within say like 1 year? Then how much cost is required? And because cost means two things are there actually. One is the development cost, and other is actually the cost of manufacturing the product actually, I mean the component cost. So the cost of development include the the salary of employees, and the tools cost and so on actually. So you have to consider, based on that only you will define the architecture, because you have to consider everything actually. So sometime if your budget is very tight and you have to sell it at a less price, then you can't use the components or parts which are very expensive, or tools which are very expensive. Okay, once it is done, then here you will do a lot of simulation also in MATLAB and other things, to see the proof of concept actually. Okay. So sometimes you need to, if it is a new technology or new thing, you need to really prove it works actually. Okay. Once that is done, you will go in design phase. Design phase, you have different role activities like circuit design, PCB design, and FPGA design, software design, mechanical design, and so on. Okay. So after that, you will do the prototyping and testing. As I told earlier, like you will make the PCB, you will download the software, you will check the performance. You can see here in certification, this is where the regulatory testing happen. You have to check for the regulatory for certificate for various countries actually, because else you can't sell it. Okay. So then you will have a final production actually. So there you have to do manufacturing testing. Then you have to support the product throughout this thing actually, development of throughout the life cycle of the product. Okay. Hello. Okay. Some background noise is there now. Can you hear me?
No, sir.
Can you hear me? Hello. Okay. Can you hear me now? Hello. Am I audible now? Okay. Yeah, okay. So next thing is PCB design flow. So I will talk a bit on that. So in any PCB design flow, everything starts from the functional block diagram. Okay. So you have decided the product architecture. Now you have to do the functional block diagram. In functional block diagram, you will identify the major components actually use in your design. Okay. So once that is done, you will actually draw the circuit diagram actually. In tools. Like schematic capture tools. Actually, I will talk on that later. Okay, so once that is done, this tool itself will create a netlist. Actually, netlist means it's interconnection between component. Okay, so once that is done, you do a electrical simulation. You have to see like whether the performance is as expected and so on. Actually, so P space is used mostly. So then once that is done, you have to do the component placement. Actually, in the PCB. Okay, because here many things you need to consider. Like sometime if you have a multiple type of components, say like you have RF components, power supplies, and high speed components and cameras and other things. So you need to have a sufficient spacing, etc. Otherwise it will interfere with each other. Okay. So once the placement is done, you will start the layout routing, and then you will also do the simulation here. I will talk on that later, the tools used there. Okay. So then after that, the product PCB will be manufactured, assembled, and tested actually. Okay, in the IC design, you have a front end and back end. I'll talk on it very high level. Okay, so in IC design, in front end, you will actually define the architecture of your, IC, for example, IC or, the FPGA. So you will decide what all the building blocks you will have, what is the expected features actually, and, the input and outputs. Okay, so you define it, and then, you will do the RTL design actually, and, you do a simulation and synthesis, etc. And to ensure, that design is perfect. Okay, and once the design is perfect, you will actually move to chip actually. So that's coming in backend, because then you will here define the area of your IC, how the component has to be placed, next to each other. You take a microprocessor, you'll have a lot of microprocessor cores, different type of memories. You have power power supplies, and clock circuit, and also you have to do a lot of simulation here also. Design integrity simulation, to check actually whether these parts are in individual components within a chip is interfering with each other, because that will affect the performance. Okay, once that is done, you will actually go for the fabrication of the chip. Okay. Okay, so who students who are interested in this VLSI, they can have it in both either in front end or back end. I will talk on the skills required for that actually. Okay. Now these are the typical position in industry. Okay, so you have a lot of position in design, then you have in reliability engineer, regulatory, and so on reliability. Nowadays, any product reliability is most important thing. How reliable your product. So you need to do really lot of design level testing, etc. And design level testing, and aspects you need to consider actually for reliability. So there are a lot of opportunities in companies. Okay, then regulatory, as I told earlier, your product, you have to meet to different regulatory conditions for each country, so they will take care of it. And in the certification stage, you have a hardware and regulatory engineers will be working, and in product manufacturing, product the final in the manufacturing, and servicing, etc. You'll have manufacturing engineer, production engineer, test engineer, quality, and all. So students who are not really interested much in technical design aspects, you have a lot of openings in other domains, like purchasing, quality, and so on actually. I will tell you the skills required there also later. Okay, yeah. So these are the different type of jobs in industry. Yeah, so this is applicable for all the type of industry what I've told, anywhere actually. Okay, so you have a different profile, so you need to really know when you are doing a planning actually. Yeah, you need to know which domain you want, which type, which field you want to go first actually. Say whether you want to go in R&D, or you want to go in testing, or you are interested in sales, or procurement, and so on actually. That's very important for you, because based on that only you can plan accordingly. Because again, whenever you are trying for a job, you need to be very clear what you want to do. Because these things, the interview will be asked actually. So suppose you say like you're interested in, say, hardware design. So accordingly, the interviewer will adapt the questions actually. If you don't tell anything, he will ask the questions from all domain actually, and that will be more difficult for you to clear actually. Okay, so if somebody want to work in research and or design and development, it's always ME or MTech is preferred. Okay, so in research, typically what does is that you may do some proof of concept, new algorithms, altogether new concept, or new architecture, etc. You define actually. Okay, in the design and development, you will actually start the design and developing of the product. For example, in research, you can do algorithm development in MATLAB. Okay, in a product design and development, you will not implement it in MATLAB. What you do is that you may implement the code in an FPGA, or microprocessor. So the code may be in a C++ or C, or in HDL language like Verilog or VHDL. Okay, so though that is done in design and development. Okay, so in industry, if you are seeing, these are the high growth field, in terms of salary and long term career growth, it's very good. So the moment you start working in research or design and development, later you can move to other domains, like testing, application, or quality, or regulatory, or even manufacturing. Okay, but the reverse is not possible. You start your career in testing and you work, say, more than 2 years, it's very difficult for you to go back to R&D. Okay, because companies won't prefer you normally. That's the reason. Okay, so in testing, the typical job profiles are like you'll be doing sometimes software testing, hardware testing, or the system level testing, etc. Okay, Then you have a type of profile called application engineer. So they are the application engineers. So for example, whenever you are having in your college, probably when you have a evaluation board, some engineers from those suppliers will come, and they will give a training actually on how to use the evaluation board, how to develop the code in the the development software development tools and so on. Okay. So that's also a profile. It's there mainly in semiconductor companies like Texas Instruments and Analog Device, etc. Then you have a lot of roles in quality and regulatory, because this is also very well growing actually, because of a lot of manufacturing happening in India, or a lot of research happening in India. A lot of requirements are there in quality and regulatory both. It's there even in IT industries also, because IT also they have a lot of quality engineers. Because if you are developing product for medical or automotive or any domain you take, you need to follow a lot of regulation, quality guidelines. So these quality engineers, they will work with the research and development team, to incorporate those in the product actually. So quality means you have a multiple roles. Like one, it can be design quality, to ensure the quality in the design. It can be a product quality, any product is manufactured in the factory, you have to do a lot of quality checks before you actually ship to customer. And other is like nowadays no company is making doing the complete product. Okay, for example, you take the consider car. In car you have battery, you have a light and wheels, tires from but these are from different suppliers. Okay, for example, Maruti is not making the tires, so they have to get it from somebody. Okay, so what a supply quality engineer does is that I mean, R&D will define features of the tire, the size of the tire, etc. And the supply quality engineer will work with the tire companies, say like Bridgestone and all, to design or develop a tire accordingly. And also they will monitor the tire performance actually throughout the product life cycle actually. And they will improve actually if there are any issues. So okay, so this is also a role. I mean, it's there in all manufacturing companies. Okay, so people who are interested can work in that actually. And regulatory, as I told earlier, a lot of regulatory engineers are also required in any product company, in automotive or any domain you take it actually. That is the biggest advantage of electronics or electrical engineers actually. You have so many opportunities which even IT or computer science students can't even think of it actually. Because they can't say, for example, go in quality or regulatory or manufacturing actually. So you have a new opportunities. And other thing is that like you're not much interested in technical things. Okay, so you have options. In testing you can go, or in quality and regulatory. And manufacturing also, you have a lot of roles like production engineer. So production engineer will typically take care of the manufacture, the production of the equipment, so your products actually. And they will ensure by you have to manufacture, say like certain number of products in a week or something like that. And they will ensure the quality of it actually, whatever products manufactured. And you have a manufacturing engineer. So what typically they do is that they will ensure the manufacture factory, the manufacturing setup is ready to manufacture the particular product. For example, in certain in automotive and all, you have a lot of robotics. Okay, so they need to see like, okay, we have sufficient robots to do certain works in the manufacturing line, and you need a lot of new test equipment to manufacture the product and so on actually. Okay, so there are a lot of positions in this also. Then the seventh one is supply chain and procurement. So this is where like any product, you have a product is made of different components. Okay, so you have to like get those components from different suppliers. So typically this supply chain or procurement or purchase engineers, what they do is that they will work with R&D. They will identify, okay, what all parts we need. Okay, and they will work with suppliers to get those parts, negotiate in pricing. And also sometime what happens, sometime product will become obsolete. Okay, so then they will work with suppliers to find new products and so on actually. So if somebody want to work in this field, doing MBA is highly preferred actually, because you need to have a lot of communication, negotiation and other things actually. Okay, so this is also again for any electronics activity, like they will have engineers with a BE or BTech in electronics or electrical actually, because somebody is interested can work there. Then in servicing, yeah, again it's for servicing the product actually. Okay, then you have a sales and marketing engineers also. One is for selling your product, one is also to marketing your product. Okay, so they are also typically be electronics or electrical engineers actually. And so with MBA, so if somebody want to do MBA, I mean, you do only if your career preference is in supply chain or sales or marketing. Don't do MBA if you want to go in R&D, because it will not add any value actually. Okay. I will tell when it is required actually. It is required at a very later stage if you want to go in managerial role. That I will talk later. Okay. So now I will talk on the really what is the expectation and required skill set industry. So here I will this is a generic actually in any industry or any profile. Okay. Then later I will cover on specifically for a different positions. Okay. So you have two main skills required actually. One is a technical skills and other is behavioral, because behavioral is very very important nowadays. You know so in during your campus interviews or off campus interview, what HR team really look into is that they will assess you on based on your behavioral activities, how you communicate and all actually. So what the most important thing you need is that good communication and presentation skills. This is the most important thing. Okay. And then you should be a team player, and so you should be able to work with a team. The work is done as a team, not as an individual. Okay. Then other thing is that you need to take ownership. For example, some tasks are assigned to you. You need to work with the different people to get it done actually. So that's called ownership. Then you should be very flexible. Flexible means multiple aspects are there. One is flexible in terms of your work means sometime you may do design today, different type of design. Sometimes you may do testing. So you should be ready to do different work actually, as per the project need. Okay. Another thing is that you need to work stretch your time, or you need to work at different time zones, etc., based on the requirement. Okay. So this is very important thing. Okay. Technical part, yeah, you should have very good knowledge on the fundamentals, a very basic knowledge from say if somebody want to go in hardware design, they should know about from resistor onwards. Don't assume that don't assume that FPG or you do DSP architecture. I need not know. The basic components. It's mandatory to know, because in your design these things are used. So you need to know really the basic fundamentals of whatever subjects you are studying actually in your engineering. I will talk on that later. Then you should have a good knowledge on the tools actually. What is used in industry? Again, I will cover that actually. Okay. Then you should be a fast and independent learner, because no company they will teach you everything. They will give you a high level training, then you need to learn yourself actually. It's always self learning. Okay. And then you should have a typically good academic score, because companies will shortlist the freshers based on your academic score, because every company will have some criteria. Some company will have say 70%, some will have 60%, etc. So you need to have those. You need to have those actually, because else what happens, your resume won't be shortlisted actually in first attempt actually. Okay. Okay, 1 minute. Yeah. Okay, now I will really talk on the skill sets required. So I'll be covering, the skill sets required for R&D profiles actually. So before I start with the embedded software, I would like to, make you a few things very clear. Okay, one is that, embedded system means it's a combination of microprocessors, controllers, DSPs, and FPGA. Please don't think that DSPs and FPGA is something different. So if you want to be in get a job in embedded software field, you should know about at least one DSP, one FPGA, and one microprocessor. This is mandatory thing. Okay. So you are studying in college, so you try to do some practicals or experiments on that. This is mandatory. Otherwise, what happens? You have a less skill set. Then it is very difficult for you to get job, or even if you are placed in a IT company or any other company, getting a good work will be always difficult, because company will see your skill set, everything depending on how much knowledge you have, what all things you know. That is very important. Okay. So that is first part. And the second part is that in embedded software you want to go, you should have some understanding of hardware. You should know how an AD, analog to digital converter, work. You need to know about the sensor interfacing and so on, because everything is your work is a combination of anything. Because you have a sensor, signal conditioning circuits, then you have a processor, you take IoT, everything is there. So these things you should be very clear to you. So now I will talk on the skill set. So why I'm showing you this is that resume screening happens in every company, whether you are a fresher or experienced, or in off campus, based on your skill set. So they will have a certain skill sets required. What I'm talking now, or what I'm showing now, is these skill sets required. Once you have this skill set, you will get a very high chance of interview calls actually. Otherwise, what happens? Your resume is the first thing you are present in any company. Okay. So resume is actually like a marketing tool. Okay. I mean, so it will list the whatever skills you have. Okay. Because you don't have sufficient skills in resume, it will be rejected. Okay. So it's important for you to have the right skill set in resume. So my point here is to make you aware. Okay. Don't get afraid of DSPs or FPGAs, because you need to learn actually, really, if you want to go in embedded software or hardware or signal processing or in core R&D, you need to know all these things actually. even in machine learning and all. I will come back on that later. Okay. So first thing is that you need to know some language. You need to know one or two language. That's good enough. Then at least you should know one of the HDL, because in your project you may use an FPGA, so you should be able to develop the HDL, FPGA coding and all. Then you need to know about RTOS. Then you should know at least the one of the processor, FPGA or DSP, whatever processors or FPGAs or DSP I have listed here. It's used by at least 80% of the industry in any domain you take it. Okay. So at least one of them you work actually. Then you need to know about multiple communication protocols, because in any product you need to communicate with a different type of devices, sensors and all, using multiple protocols. So you should know about this actually, because nobody is going to teach you in company, because you need to have this skill set in your resume to get into vehicle. Then you should have some knowledge on device drivers and kernel programming. Okay. So later I will talk on how to get these skills actually, maybe by attending courses or online. Okay, I will talk on that actually later. So you keep this as a reference point for you. You should really have this in your resume to get an interview call. That's the most important thing, interview call, or you are placed already, so still to get a project. Because whenever a project, before a project is given, they will ask the employees, okay, to share their resume. Then they will see whether the person has experience, then only you will get the project. You need to understand that. So always ensure that you have a experience in like programming language, say like then one HDL, then architecture of at least one of the DSPs, processors or FPGA. You can do a small mini projects actually during your college. So that is very important. Then you should have knowledge on the communication protocols and hardware, etc. Okay. So these are some of the positions. Okay. I mean, you can be for embedded software engineer for microprocessor, DSP or FPGA or combination. Then you can be a software engineer for drivers or RTOS, algorithm engineers, testing and all. So these are some of the ads. Okay. So now I'll talk on the skill sets required for image and signal processing engineer. So here again I want to emphasize one more thing. You just don't assume that you know the signal processing and imaging process fundamentals and MATLAB. That's not sufficient alone actually. That's good. That's mandatory to have that. But in addition to that, again, the DSP's algorithms are implemented in a high-end processors or an FPGA or a DSP. So you should know about at least one of those, DSPs, FPGAs or processors. Processor means mainly it's ARM processor. Then you need to know about the communication protocol, because in your application you need to communicate with the various devices. For example, you consider car reverse camera. Okay, so in reverse camera you have a camera, so you have to do some image processing and other things. Then you need to control with your sensors and so on, right? So that controlling and the communication happens through CAN protocol and some other protocol you can say. So you need to know about the communication protocols, and again you need to know about the RTOS and then some programming language and HDL. So you need to ensure these things actually. And again this all very highly paid jobs actually, signal processing and image processing, like VLSI. Okay. So you have a multiple positions there: signal, DSP, image processing, algorithm, test and verification, image quality. So you can see like all the like companies like even L&D, they do work actually. And a lot of companies in automotive like KPIT, even E-Info chips, it's there I think in Ahmedabad. So they also do a lot of work on that actually, on that. Okay. So now I'm talking on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So you here I just want to clear one of the misunderstanding, because many times students will think that it's only for computer science or IT students. It's not true. Okay. So it's for it's used in every application now. Artificial intelligence or machine learning is in every type of application. It's used from a normal Whirlpool washing machine to everywhere. So for example, in Whirlpool washing machine, they had this neural network fuzzy logic algorithms from early 2000s actually. So by here one more thing you need to understand is that again you need to have a very good knowledge on the processors and the FPGAs and DSPs. Again you are going to implement in one of these platforms. So main things is that here you need to know about the programming language, specifically Python and R is widely used for this thing. Okay, so knowing that is good. Then you need to know about the fundamentals of machine learning, neural networks. Apart from that, you should have very good fundamental knowledge on DSP and image processing, because many time what happens is that in many of the application now it's a combination actually, like they will use some signal processing technique, then they will use a machine learning algorithm not to do something. So you need to have a good knowledge on that. Apart from that, you need to have good knowledge on the OS and distributed computing, then statistics, etc. Okay. Now I'll talk on the skill sets required for hardware. So in hardware, typically you need to have a good skill sets on the schematic tools. So typically ORCAD and Mentor graphics is used by at least 80% of the industry. Then you have you need to know about the PCB design guidelines. You need not know actually the layout, how to do the layout. That is not required. You need to know what all care you need to take care, do while doing the PCB layout. That's very important. Then you need to know about PSpice. You need to know how to simulate the circuits and all. That's very important. Then you need to know about HDL languages, and then architecture, as I told before, about communication protocol. Then you need to talk about a very fundamental knowledge on the component static, say from resistor, capacitor, diodes, transistors to op amps, then electromagnetics and other things actually. And if you see opportunity wise, electronics as a hardware engineer has got highest varieties of opportunity. Okay, because you can work as a hardware engineer in multiple domains. Okay, and then you have a option FPG design, then signal integrity simulation, then wire harness and electromagnetic. In wire harness is a new profile actually. Typically it's in automotive and big system actually, because in any system you have a lot of cables. So like the wire harness engineers will take care of how the cable has to be selected, how to route and all. Then you have a reliability engineer and regulatory test engineers. Okay, so a lot of opportunities here. So this is some of the examples. So for example, info chips actually, this is the position required in Ahmedabad, for example. So you can see the skill sets what they ask you. Okay, so process, then memories and so on actually. Okay. So these are the typical skill set required for a VLSI design engineer. In VLSI design, you have two domains, say two fields actually. One is FPGA design, another is like IC design. In IC design, again you have a front end and back end. Here, this is the highest paid job in industry. I mean, and at the same time, it's the most difficult to get also. So you have a lot of you should have a lot of knowledge in digital design, then analog circuit design, then very good knowledge on semiconductor physics, transistors. Then you should know about processor architecture. Then you need to know about HDL mandatorily. Then if some programming language, knowing Perl is again a beneficial there, Perl or Python, because testing and all, we are IC testing and all, it's used widely nowadays. Then having domain knowledge is also very good actually. And you can see a lot of positions here: design engineer, layout, verification. Then EDA developers are the engineers who are developing the the development tools actually. Then you have physical design and reliability engineers. Okay, so with this, I think we can continue now tomorrow. Maybe we can have a 10-minute question and answer session. So tomorrow will talk on the tools and components used in industry, because this is important for you in your project actually, to select. You need to know what is used in industry first. Because then only you will have the right skills actually. Because everything whatever I shown before, it's derived from this point actually. Okay, I will talk on that, and then I will talk on short-term courses and other things tomorrow. So can we go for Q&A now? If you have any questions, you can ask me, or you can type it actually. No problem. I'll answer.
Yes, if you have any question, can just type in the chat box.
Yeah.
He will answer the questions. Sorry for the inconvenience today. Some of the students cannot join due to the technical issue at my end. I was not able to see the request. Okay, but
Okay.
I think 40 to 41 student has joined.
Yeah, yeah,
If
that's
anyone
good
has
actually.
question, then kindly type into the chat box.
Yeah, yeah. So antenna design also you have scopes. So why yeah, you have a lot of scopes in IoT domain, and also companies working on mobile phone design actually. Okay, but to go in the antenna design, it's a good. It better you can do masters in microwave engineering or microwave electronics, etc. Okay. So there are opportunities in this communication domain, like companies like in Cisco, Qualcomm, also, or the companies who are working on IoTs actually, because in any type of Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, or even Zigbee, you have a different type of antennas. Okay, okay. Then second question. Okay. No, for a VLSA, I prefer you do MEM Tech actually. That's a better way. If you can try as a fresher also. There are some short-term courses are actually available. I mean, I will talk on that tomorrow. So I mean, you can do in CDAC, but that is one option actually. Else you can go for MEM Tech, because typically in VLSA domain, getting is the most difficult, because they will have at least 6 to 8 rounds of interview, and it's really tough to crack actually. Because that's one of the tough job profile also. So my suggestion is that you can try as a fresher, or and if you didn't get anything, you can go for MEM Tech actually. Okay, you can do MEM Tech, in institute where they have the tools what is used in industry. I will talk on that tomorrow. Okay, and the other question is on in image processing, right? Yeah, in image processing there are a lot of positions because now in automotive or in medical or in other domains actually, communication domains, the image processing is widely used even in video streaming industries and all, no, for your even YouTube and other things, like but to enhance its speed you need to do a lot of image compression and other things actually, right? I mean, to improve the video quality and so on, actually. So there are a lot of opportunity, as I told earlier. You need to have a very good knowledge on the signal processing, fund and image processing, fundamentals, mathematics, and then you need to know about the processor architecture and all, because at the end you will be implementing in one of those. Okay. Other question is on the satcom actually, satellite communication. Yeah, you have actually, but only the problem is there is that you have opportunities only in government organization actually in India. So that's a problem there. Okay. So again, the requirements you can say like the same skill set. I mean, whatever I shown so far. For example, you want to work in satellite domain. It can be in anything. It can be a software engineer. Then you have to have a whatever skills I've shown before. Like you need to know about processors and DSPs. You need to have good programming skills. You need to know about the communication protocols. Okay. And then if you're working hardware, you need to have the knowledge on the the components and so on. Okay. And I know ISRO, I think they have their own exam also. For example, this is about ISRO. But I think having a good score in GATE is beneficial for not only ISRO, to Bharat Electronics or Bharat Heavy Electricals. And there are a lot of benefit. And another benefit what you have is that, when you have a good GATE score, that means, to get a good GATE score, you need to prepare for the exam. So that means, your fundamentals will be very good actually. So you can crack many interviews, due to that actually. That is beneficial. Okay. And okay, yeah, 5G also a lot of companies are working actually. I mean, there are opportunities, but again, to go to 5G, when again, any communication domain you have to go, either you'll have to be a software engineer or hardware engineer. So you should have the same skill set actually, you know, because again, communication technology is based on signal processing. So you should have very good knowledge really to get into that. Okay. Even for example, Reliance Jio and also they work on a lot of things actually, working with the various companies like Cisco and all these things actually. So you need to have very good knowledge. Again, you want to decide whether you want to work in software or hardware, then you have to have same requirement. Whatever I don't same actually. Okay. Then for embedded system development, the software development, one is that HDL is mandatory. Either you should have compulsory VHDL or very low. It's a must. Then you should know about the C or C++. That's good. And then knowing MATLAB is also very good because nowadays in a proof of concept or simulation and the model development, no MATLAB is used. So my suggestion would be, knowing MATLABs, maybe C or C++ and VHDL or Verilog. It's a mandatory if you want to go in embedded software. Okay. Yes, embedded software engineers also will get job in ISRO because ISRO would do a lot of things, the product development. So you can be in any domain actually, say like a hardware, they don't do IC design, but hardware engineers or, FPGA design engineers or embedded software. Yes, you can be.
Any other questions?
So any domain you go, whatever skill set, now it's a mandatory, whether you go to ISRO or Bharat Electronics Limited, because at the end, they will, screen that, from your resume, and then they're doing a written test also, you will have a similar questions actually from those. So it doesn't matter, I mean, you're working in ISRO or you're working I mean, say for example, in GE or anywhere actually.
Okay. Thank you. All participants are requested to join earlier. Okay, I am sending the link before 10 minutes, so you can join earlier. Otherwise, today some technical problem happened, so that might not happen tomorrow. But I request you to join earlier. And Ranjit, what you will cover tomorrow, just give hint to them so they will get motivated to join tomorrow again.
Yeah, tomorrow I will be talking and I will present. I'll present my desktop is okay. You can see it, right? Okay. Yeah, I'll be talking on the major components and the tools used in industry. It's very important also for you to know what is used, so that will help you, to select this thing in your project, or also to have this in your resume, to screen, get a better visibility, or in hiring and or in shortlisting resume. Actually, I'll be covering on that. Then I will very briefly talk on some of the IoT blocks, and so IoT blocks bit very like to make you aware, like machine learning is used, uh, you know with FPGA and processors and all. Then I'll talk on with tools actually using schematics. Then a bit on MATLAB. Then I'll talk on how to enhance your career prospects, because I'll talk on like India importance of internship, then specialized courses. This is very important actually for you to know what are the specialized courses. Okay, and where it is available. I listed some of them. You can find it more. Okay, then I will talk a bit on the online courses, like from where all you can learn. Then I will talk on some of the boards which you can buy for your self learning or your projects actually. Okay, and then I'll talk on the focus subjects for interview actually. This is also very important for you to know, because when you're preparing for interview, the questions can be from different subjects. So I'll talk on that. Then I'll talk on the next steps. Then I'll be talk on the organization, how an organization looks. It's also important for you to understand, because during your campus recruitments and all, nobody's going to tell you all those things. You need to know really, I mean, how the company, what all positions, how the career path and so on actually. So that will give you a good insight on industry, okay, to make you aware. Okay, because tools is the most important part, whoever want to go in R&D, because so you accordingly you can select in your project.
Okay, thank you, Ranjit. So
Yeah.
tomorrow you will get more idea of IoT embedded and career path. Okay, what
Yeah.
course you can do.
Yeah, yeah. So some more questions are there actually. Yeah. So one is about MS actually. Okay. So MS is like a typically a master's degree. I mean, I think you meant for the MS, abroad, right? In India, MS is there, but that is mainly a research degree in IT. In abroad, you can do MS. Okay, but you need to consider one more aspect actually there. One is the cost involved. I assume that you don't get a scholarship, so you need to be ready to spend, say like at least say 30 to 50 lakh. You should have the sufficient budget for doing that. You need to understand that, you don't assume that I will get a scholarship easily. Okay, but again, to get scholarship, you need to have the skill set what I've shown you, because scholarship you will get, because when you get scholarship, they will expect you to do some work actually, right? So for that you need to have the skills actually. So you can do in MS in abroad, but my another suggestion would be, doing a masters in Europe is more beneficial, because if you have the masters in Europe, you can work in all the countries in Europe actually. Means you have really more opportunities than in US actually in Europe, and getting visa is more easier there in Europe. So that's the biggest advantage actually. I mean, US, nowadays getting visa is difficult. So again, it's up to you. Okay, then yes, IoT. This is about a question is about IoT is part of embedded system. Okay, yes, IoT is of course part of embedded system, and IoT is a combination of sensors, processors. Embedded system means it's a complete system. Like combination of, say, like your electronics, say starting from sensors, to processors or DSPs or FPGA to all communication protocols. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so it's a combination of us. Of course, you can merge actually. And another question is about see, in VLSI you have a scope in everything. You have a physical design, or DFT or verification. You have scope for everything, because in India all these activities are done. Even for example, InfoChips does everything actually in Ahmedabad or in Pune, or the different locations. For example, or Wipro has got like more than 1,000 people in that actually. And then you have all companies like Texas Instruments, Unlock Devices, all of them. So in real estate domain, you have a scope in everything actually. So now it's you to decide. But again, as I told earlier, you should have very good knowledge on semiconductor fundamentals actually. That's a basic step to get there actually. Okay. So it's up to you. I mean, scopes are equally there everywhere. Intel, everybody does. You have a lot of opportunities in Pune, Bangalore, Hyderabad, or in Chennai, and or even Guwahati, etc. Okay. Okay. Avionics, yeah, avionics is again part of this thing. In India, I think in avionics masters is there. I think in Anna universities, and I think probably in some IITs also, or even you can look in abroad also actually. Because if you see like Boeing and Airbus also has R&D centers in India, in Bangalore, for example. So again, in avionics also you have to have an experience in either FPGA, DSP, or process, because avionics also it's a combination. Again, avionics is just an application which uses this thing. So you should have same experience. Backend design also, you have a lot of opportunities in India. So there are a lot of companies working, as I told you, Infochips in Ahmedabad to Wipro, to TCS. or HCL, all of them works actually. So again, I mean, if you want to do, VLSA, my recommendation is that you can do a short-term courses. I'll talk on that tomorrow, or you can do for master's degree actually. When you need to consider one more aspect. Doing masters is always beneficial because you are not losing time there. Whatever time you spend now, that is considered as 2 years experience, in any company. So you'll be joining at senior level. So it's good for you really to do masters, do from some reputed institutes, and also ensure that they have the sufficient tools and other things actually. Okay, so in VLSI you have opportunities in both the front end, back end, including testing and verification, everything. Yeah, because a lot of companies are working actually in India now. Really, a lot of opportunities, and it's you can say highest paid job also. At the same time, difficult to get. The interviews will be really, really difficult there. They will start from semiconductor, physics, to transistors, diode, to everything. Yeah? I mean, you'll need to have a very thorough knowledge on that actually. Okay.
One question from my side, Ranjit.
Yeah.
Those who are in final year or third year, so
Yeah.
what actually they should prepare for going into the embedded? Like they should know C, C++. Other than
Yeah.
that, what
Yeah.
software they should learn?
No, they need to know C, C++. They should know about VHDL or Verilog. That is a must actually. And then they should know about architecture of at least one DSP, one FPG, and one processor. And then they should have a knowledge on communication protocols like I2C, SPA, CAN, Ethernet, RS232, and all. This is a must actually. Because in interview, definitely these questions will be asked actually. So VHDL is a must now because as I told, embedded system, it's a combination of all. Okay. So you should have C, C++, one language is good enough, and one VHD, when HDL language is a must actually. Then architecture of the processor, then communication protocol. These are the must actually.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions? So whatever that slide, now I will share this slide with the sir actually tomorrow. So like you focus that, okay, your goal should be like, okay, now with this, like what is the expectation from industry, what are the major components used in industry. Now you can select those in your project, do some mini project there, and always see, like your resume should be like, should market yourself. This is again I'm emphasizing, whenever you try for a job, other campus interview or off campus or as a fresher anywhere, at the end, or when you are for your higher education in abroad, where scholarship is very important, your resume should have the skills actually, because then only it will get shortlisted. Okay, so always my aim also here is to make you aware what is really required to make your resume very highly visible there, because then you will get interview call, then the interview will happen, right? So that way. So try to learn as much as possible. And again, I'm telling you, in core field, you have a plenty of opportunities across India. I mean, a lot of companies are coming actually, really, I mean, a lot of opportunities, because the advantage of working in core is that, this will be there every time actually. There's a like stability in this field is very good actually. Not like in a normal software, like, there, things will keep on changing. They do a lot of automation and all. So those things won't happen. Like, here you have a lot of opportunities, and another advantage is that you have a lot of other roles like in quality, manufacturing, regulatory. So you can switch over also, like a later stage, if you are interested. So that is also good. For example, I know a lot of my colleagues or friends and all. They are they were earlier R&D engineers, so they are into quality manufacturing and all. So you have a plenty of opportunities at later part of your career. So nothing to worry, because this COVID situation, this will also pass on, and the opportunities remain there actually. So there will be some slight slowdown on this thing, but at least by learning, you have a lot of opportunities in learning online nowadays. Then you can do some get the evaluation boards, do some practice on that, whatever you learn, implementation and so on. Always ensure to have very good resume with this skill set, then you learn everything actually. That's the only two suggestion I have actually.
Okay, thank you, Ranjit, and
Yeah.
thank you all the participants. So tomorrow I will send the link before 5 to 10 minutes. So all are requested to join early. Thank you. So see you all tomorrow. You can leave the
Yeah.
meeting now.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Bye.
Thank you.